A group of NFL players diagnosed with brain injuries linked to repeated concussions will now be paid for injuries caused during their time in the league. The payouts come after the Supreme Court rejected challenges to a $1 billion plan by the NFL to settle thousands of concussion lawsuits filed by those former players. The decision on the settlement comes after former Heisman Trophy winner Rashaan Salaam was found dead at the age of 42. Salaam's family now says he had symptoms associated with chronic head trauma, or CTE, before he committed suicide last week. The settlement awards up to $5 million for those with Lou Gehrig's disease, $4 million for past CTE deaths, and $3.5 million for advanced Alzheimer's disease. CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco joins me now to talk about this. Pete, thanks so much. Explain the details of the settlement to our viewers.
Well, moving forward, what it means is that anybody who's playing now will not be part of this lawsuit, so they can't get any damages awarded to them. So that's why it was challenged. That's why they didn't want it to stand as is, and I get it. I understand that. But the players who are part of this will now start to get paid, and there's a lot of players who need to get paid and need the money and need it as quickly as possible. So there's two sides to it. I see it from both sides. Look, any player who has been subject to this kind of disease, I hope they get as much as they can in terms of financial settlement for their future going forward. But, you know, you can also see the other side where the NFL now is doing as much as they can to try and protect its players as well.
Yeah, well, Pete, but explain also, and this is one of those sides of the argument that you're talking about here, some of these former NFL players who have debilitating injuries that they're not even able to work. They can't do some of the things that I guess a lot of Americans suspect that players who retire do, which is, you know, go on TV, do color commentary. They can't even work. Some of them they can barely afford to pay rent.
I get it. I understand that, and you know, there was a lot of you know, a lot of blind eye being turned to the problems of the players back in the day, and you know what? Whoever can get what they get, I understand that. But also, the NFL has also done a lot of things now to make the game safer. Was it safe back then? Probably not as safe as it could be. Did they turn a blind eye to a lot of problems? Absolutely. Guys would get concussions and they'd stick smelling salts in their face. And obviously that was the wrong thing to do. But they've learned. And you know what? There are a lot of guys still playing the game. Make the game safer for as many as you can. Award the monies to as many players as you can who did get damaged from when they were playing. You can't make everybody happy. I get it. We mentioned Rashaan Salaam earlier. His brain is not going to be used in further testing for his injuries because of religious purposes. But Salaam was accused of using marijuana during his time in the league, and now players are now advocating for the use of marijuana as an approved substance in the NFL to help treat their pain due to football-related injuries. What do you make of that? I'm all for it. I think that's something that it should be allowed when you're a player in the National Football League. Look, this is a league that dispenses pain medication on a regular basis. I've been in many a locker room where players have been lined up to get their pain medication before and after games, and it's administered by the team. Things such as Toradol, which is a shot you take before and after a game. So if you're a team and you're giving that and a player wants to get some marijuana for some pain remedy, I have no problem with it whatsoever. And I think the league should be open-minded to it. I think they will be open-minded to it going forward.
Let me ask you about this, Pete. The lawsuits accuse the NFL of hiding what it knew about concussion risks. You know, a lot of this sort of, for the public, came to light back in 2002. Mike Webster, the legendary Pittsburgh Steelers player, died, and there was this doctor, Dr. Bennett Omalu, who sort of diagnosed this CTE. I mean, what do you make of the NFL's continued denial of the existence of this debilitating disease?
Well, I think they're being stubborn to a fault when it comes to this. They should be much more open-minded about it. Look, there have been mistakes made. They made a lot of mistakes. The National Football League made a lot of mistakes as it relates to the concussion situation. But again, I go back to what I'm saying before, is they've improved it. And you know, everybody's looking for the smoking gun, that they turned a blind eye and that they knew about it and hid the evidence. Well, if they did, then they're at fault, and now that's why they're paying out these settlements. I just think now we have to focus on what's going forward and improve it. I mean, because there are a lot of players in the National Football League nowadays who are taking headshots, and you don't want to see things repeated. You don't want to see players have problems 30, 40, 50 years from now. So if a guy suffers a head injury, do as much as you can to protect that player. It's also on the player, by the way. A lot of players suffer concussions and hide the symptoms. I mean, that's something that's gone on for a long, long time in the National Football League, and it continues to go on even though guys now know the consequences and see what's happened to some of these players after they've taken had all these concussions and had CTE problems. So it's on the players, it's on the league. I think you got to improve it both ways and do it moving forward.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. We were talking earlier to my producers about that very point, that if a player starts to exhibit some of the symptoms of, for example, CTE, he's not going to say a whole lot, because then a team, a general manager can say, look, you're not able to even play. That jeopardizes his future. But it is an extreme risk to do that.
Oh, there's no question. And you know, we saw recently, we saw Luke Kuechly have an unbelievable concussion on the field, where to the point where his emotions came pouring out and he started crying on the football field. And when you know, there's a lot of doctors out there who say when you have a severe concussion that your emotions do come out like that. And he was crying on the field. That's how bad that was. He hasn't played since. And if you're Luke Kuechly, you got to step back and as a player, you have to say to yourself, is this worth it to me? Is this something that I want to risk moving forward? I mean, it's on the player. Nobody makes the player play. I mean, the NFL can do what they want to make the game as safe as possible. It's still never going to be a truly safe game. But it's on the player to take responsibility for himself. Is it worth the risk? What do I have to do to protect myself? Sometimes we lose sight of the fact that nobody's making players play. So if they're on the field and they suffer concussion, they need to protect themselves as much as anybody.
Pete, final question. To be fair to the NFL, they have put in some new initiatives. What are those initiatives?
Well, I mean, you look at you get a penalty for going to the head. I mean, back in the day, there were forearms to the helmet on a regular basis. I mean, that was something. You look back and you put on a game from the 1970s and the 1980s, it's so much more violent than it is today. And I'm not just talking about shots to the head. I'm talking about in the line of scrimmage. Guys were getting away with, you know, clubs to the head when they're rushing the passer. They've taken that all out of the game. You know, there's a lot of players now who say you've taken the head out of the game, but now you're making the knee more of a target, and you're seeing guys go down with knee injuries. I mean, and this is the reality, I've had a lot of NFL players over the years tell me they'd rather take a shot to the head and worry about it later on than take a shot to the knee and not be able to play and not be able to earn that money. So there's a lot of issues out there. I think protecting the head is first and foremost what the NFL is trying to do.
A lot of issues, but thanks for breaking it down for us. CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco, we thank you.
You got it.